What it do? I'm saying. Talking about. Let's chop it up.
Welcome back to the Let's Chop It Up podcast. Man, we appreciate you for tuning back in. I don't know why y'all still do, but we blessed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Man, today, if y'all don't know, I feel like I say that all the time. I'm going to stop saying that. But today, we have an awesome person with us. Man, I don't know if y'all remember a few weeks ago, we had Austin Lanier on, right? And he mentioned this person. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. He mentioned a lot of people. But this person, he did mention how he's been instrumental in his life. And I know it's not only been his life, but many people that he impacts, you know? So, the way we normally do it is like this. It's your brother Mo, here with my brother Whiteout, my boy Elokes, and Tre9.
What's up, everybody?
What's good, brother?
It's all good, man. Glad to be here.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Had a birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Feliz cumpleaños.
Doing well.
Yeah.
Feel good. Feel as young as y'all.
Do you mind us asking how old you turned
I'm 46.
yesterday? 46.
Yeah,
man.
46.
Hey, I feel bad for that
And
statement
proud of
because I
it.
feel old. My body be hurting.
Shoot, 46 and proud of it, man.
Man, 46 barely.
Yeah,
Hey, I've been
man.
seeing you hitting them weights like you 20 though.
I'll stay in there, man. I got to stay in there. I got to stay healthy for my children, you know?
Yeah.
And the mission field. You know, a lot of
Hey.
missionaries don't take care of their body, and as a result, they give out early.
Wow.
He's been in it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, since 96 is when I started. I gave my life to Christ in 95, but started with Christian hip hop in 96.
2 decades almost. Or more than 2 decades.
Yeah.
3 decades almost.
Yes.
Wow. Put in
It's
a lot
blessing.
of work.
It's a blessing. You
Yeah.
know, only God could do that. I've seen people pass away in Christian hip hop. People give up. People turn to the world and go secular. I've seen
Yeah,
it all.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so to be able to sit back and still be consistently doing what I'm doing and loving what I'm doing and expanding on it and growing it and pouring back into others is, to me, a dream come true. You know? There's no amount of money that could bring the fulfillment I get than being a part of something that's lasted and continues to grow. You know.
Wow.
And so I'm
that's
more
the
into
key to
that
life
than
right there,
anything.
right?
Yeah, bro. I think, legacy, you don't go demand a legacy. That just happens over time as you do what God called you to do.
Yeah.
And then when you look back, you're like, whoa, I was a part of all that and I got to experience that, and people are, thanking you and, they respect and show love still instead of hate and division and discord everywhere you go.
Yeah.
I listen to some people that get interviewed and it's like, dang, everywhere you went, every bridge you
interviewed
made,
here?
it's like you just is that chaotic? And I've been doing it dang near 30 years and I don't have a path of destruction behind me.
Yeah.
That just is a blessing to me. I just think the peace of God, the fruits of the Spirit, if you walk in them, you won't have all them horror stories because by the time it comes full circle.
So you're talking about like the interviews you see here.
I see interviews with y'all and I'm like, dang, bro. Like, some of these people, like, what?
Lord, help
us. Look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, you see, that's why you're 46, but you feel so young. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't with all the drama.
yeah, man.
It's easy to get lost.
Yeah.
That probably caused drama in itself
Oh,
with immature people.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. It's like you should not have a trail of destruction behind you. If every relationship experience in your past, you got to go, well, they didn't give me my props for this, or I fell out with him over this, and it's like, well, did anything hold fruit? Is there any fruit from what you did beyond something temporary and short?
No, if every house that Pookie goes into burns down, the problem ain't with the house, the problem with Pookie.
Pookie gotta get saved.
And I expect that with the streets. I've been in street ministry for so long and prison ministry. It's like when guys don't know how, maybe they were fatherless, maybe there was father wounds, maybe it could either be they were abused, they were abandoned, or they had an absentee father. Maybe he went to work, came home, checked out, and so a lot of this stuff comes from the father wound. So sometimes I could listen to guys and go, yeah, there's some father wounds there, you know. But
hey, don't listen too hard to my talk. No, I'm playing.
But,
I love you, Dad.
But it's nothing.
You about to get
Come
in a
home.
healing mode.
Come on, Dad.
But at the same time, I don't judge these guys because for me, it's like I
Yeah.
understand why you're that way.
Yeah, right.
You know, I understand.
Yeah.
And so there's forgiveness and grace
Yeah,
for
there's
that.
grace.
But just get discipled.
Mhm.
Get discipled so you can get healed and so that you can help heal others.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you're here to disciple the streets, right?
That's
so
right.
you mentioned that things that you're doing now. A lot of people don't know what you're doing. What exactly are you doing?
Yeah. So, you know, I shifted in 2008 from being someone that was focused on rapping and doing shows and bringing people to the altar to being intentional about discipling them and following through with them at the altar. And so we started Hip Hop Hope Missions in 2008 in Fifth Ward. Some people know Jay Prince was the one who opened the door for me in Fifth Ward.
Wow.
And I began doing Hip Hop
The
Hope.
bloody nickel.
Yep, and it became the flagship of our ministry.
Not a lot of people want to step into Fifth Ward.
Yeah.
Like, why Fifth Ward for you?
Yeah, I think I grew up very close to Fifth Ward, at north side of Houston. You know where Fire lives actually today. My parents still live there, and so
With the trunk still rattling? No.
so I never saw Fifth Ward as, you know, like a danger or anything.
Yeah,
Because in every hood that's dangerous, there's more good people doing right than there are bad people doing wrong. And even the bad people doing wrong, I'm going to prison and I'm meeting them and I'm like, dang, if I could have got to you before.
Yeah.
And so the only way to get to them before is to go where they're at.
Yeah.
And so and you walk in the power of the Spirit, and you know you're protected by angels, and you know if you're gonna die, God's got to allow it. So you don't really, you know. So Fifth Ward it was interesting because my nephew he played for Wheatley High School basketball team, and then so Jay Prince was in the stands, and his wife Mary Prince, and I was like, hey, you know, I have this idea for ministry that I'd like to do and bring hope to Fifth Ward. And I knew Jay had a notorious reputation. You know, he's infamous for various things, but I decided that I would start working with him.
Did you feel like you had to kind of check in with Jay Prince to kind of get that okay, or did you feel that way or no?
No, I felt like if you can, it's like God put him in front of me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
And it's like, why not? The pastors weren't going to let me in Fifth Ward. I had, you know, they're more territorial than gang members, you know. And so the pastors wasn't going to let me in. But
What's his name? No,
Trying to take my sheep.
no. You know, while you're saying that, what it reminded me of is the Old Testament. You know what I'm saying? Where the prophets, they would still have to go through the kings, you know what I'm saying, or the rulers, or whoever was above everything at that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because you've been to Jay Prince Island, right?
Yeah,
Like
I've been
he
to
has
Jay
his own
Prince
island.
Island.
Hey,
That's crazy. Hey, big time
Man,
over here.
This dude owns
His
an
ranch,
island.
been to his ranch.
Oh, that boy.
Well, he owns a couple islands, right, Trey? He
Yeah,
owns-
2 islands.
Wow.
One was fully developed when I went, and then the other one was in progress.
How was that? How was your time
Beautiful, man, beautiful. His daughter Ashley went on a mission trip with us to Belize, and so she was like, we should go to my dad's house. And I was like, yeah, that'd be dope. Let's go. And then we got on the phone, and you took a boat 2 hours
Dang.
to his island, and just
You remember how to get there?
no, I don't.
there? Man, I need to start going on mission trips with Trey.
Well, we were in San Pedro, I think. San Pedro, Belize.
This is when you guys went to Brazil, right?
No, this was San Pedro, Belize.
Belize.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but you've been doing like you got a Hip Hop Hope in Honduras, right?
Yes.
Or
What?
different land.
We've had it in
nations,
Canada, Jamaica, Honduras. Hip Hop Hope has just been everywhere. I mean,
Hey,
all
because those
over.
Canadians need it. No, man, everybody needs it.
And
That's
when
crazy.
you
I didn't
do
know
that,
that.
like when you do that in Honduras, is that still like hip hop based? Like people are into hip hop, the youth over there.
Some being introduced to it, some into it, and others doing it. You know, so they got rappers that are Christian hip hop out there.
Oh, okay.
Hey, shout out VIC.
And we have
He needs to go. Yeah.
we have some viewers who don't know what Fifth Ward is. So this is a predominantly black community, and it's like we have Trey, who's a white guy, going in and he's serving the community. He's talking to Jay Prince. Tell us more about the beginning of starting Hip Hop Hope. I heard you had an issue with your wife and all of that. Like, what happened with that, bro?
Yeah, in 2002.
And you don't shy away from that.
No, that's my testimony. That's how people get set free when they hear a testimony
Come on.
of your hardships, and they can say, man, I'm going through that now.
Amen.
Yeah.
And they get hope from that. So all my dirt is on the table, because that dirt and slop and that mud that I had to go through is what leads you, you know, into victory to where you can be cleaned up, and then you go back and you pull others out of the mud. And so in 2008 I started Hip Hop Hope, and you know, granted, I had a janitorial company that I started in 1998, and God just blessed it. You know, I got saved in 95, started walking with the Lord, stopped all my secular hip hop lyrics and threw the album in the trash that I was working on, and then began this journey of Christian hip hop. And then, you know, me and my wife, I got married at 19. My ex-wife, I got married at 19. She was 18 because I wanted to be obedient to Christ. I was not going to be fornicating anymore. I wanted to be obedient to God. I took my walk very seriously. It wasn't like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so, you know, I married her, had 14 years of marriage. Okay.
Wow.
But throughout that time, I'm bringing in money. You know, I'm financing the label, Much Love Records. I'm putting on award shows for the city. I'm doing everything to grow Christian hip hop, because that was even the mission statement of my record label, was make gospel rap music popular in the world in order to better the lives of people. Because I saw what hip hop did in my life.
Yeah.
Was it
and
an acronym?
No, it wasn't. and I just knew that we need to infect the hood with Christian hip hop if we're gonna reach the streets.
Come on.
And so I just got on this journey of Christian hip hop, and you know, we put out, if you count all the records we put out to date, there's about 20, and
20,
and that was at a time when, you know, there was no money. The churches were like, that's of the devil. The streets are like, that's corny. Even Christians that like hip hop are like, that's corny. So, you know, we're in a time period back then where it was rejection on all fronts. So I didn't think me dropping an album was going to change everything. I didn't think a record label dropping an album was going to change everything. I thought, if I can get an army together of Christian rappers and we could infiltrate, you know, communities and events, and then we could grow this thing and make it popular, and people will draw near to it. So that's why you saw me involved in the first South by Southwest Christian hip hop venue, in the first awards show in Houston, and just doing so many things that incorporated other people, because it was bigger than me. It was bigger than the label. It was big, and so I wanted to build a foundation for Christian hip hop in Houston, so that we could reach people through hip hop. And so over time, I saw in 2008, I was like, man, Christian hip hop has kind of arrived. The craze doing well. Reach Records is signing people, and I'm like, we got a lot of rappers in the city. I was like, you really don't need me as much anymore. But I said that one thing that's lacking is Christian hip hop is leaving them at the altar, and we're aborting these babies that are getting born again. Wow. And we're leaving them without discipleship. We're like, oh, the church is going to take them. Well, the church isn't going to take them. They came because of a hip-hop concert. They connected and related to that. But after that, this traditional church and the same old gimmicks.
Business.
Yeah, and church could be boring, man. When you're like from
boring.
the streets, and then, you know, you see a Christian hip-hop event, and I could just imagine going on Sunday, and it's just traditional.
What happened to all the rappers?
Boring.
They're dealing with feeling judged. You know, so too involved in politics, boring, traditional, all these things that was the reason. If church was relating to hip hop, if church incorporated hip hop back then, if church, you know, buildings, I'm talking about pastors, and if they would have embraced it, I wouldn't have needed to do much. I could just join a church and just rock with the pastor and let's go. But I had to step out and build everything because they wouldn't do it. They rejected everything. There were very few. I can't even name many that, except for the pastor the church that I went to, who let me rap on stage. And then any church I joined after that, I came like, I'm a rapper. Do you embrace rap? And I would just see how the pastor would respond, and I wouldn't join if he was just shrugging me off. And so I ended up landing at Copperfield Baptist Church. Pastor Larry Womack, the worship leader, took me to the pastor, and I saw how he responded. He said, let's do lunch. Did lunch, and I joined that church, and I saw they had a missions budget. And I said, what is that for? That's how we support people overseas. I was talking to one of the deacons. He was like, yeah, kind of like what you do locally, but, you know, overseas. And I was like, well, okay, that's cool. He said, you should talk to the pastor about supporting something here that you do. And I was like, okay. And I did. And the pastor said, yeah, what do you want to do? And that's how the whole Fifth Ward Hip Hop Hope. Pastor Larry comes down to Fifth Ward, and We take a tour of the Prince Complex, and him and Ann Aguilar, and they say, yeah, we'll support it. Wow. And Hip Hop Hope was born, and the vision was we're going to have a DJ that's kind of like our choir director. We're going to have artists. That's kind of like the choir coming alive. Yeah. We're going to have a host. That's like the shepherd. We're going to do break bread time. That's the offering time. And this is going to be church without calling it church. We're going to call it Hip Hop Hope.
Nice.
And little did I know it would spread and become, 12. We had 12 going on at one time.
What was the first lineup like?
Hip Hop Hope?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Or maybe like within the first few months, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily the first.
That was what, 2005 you said?
2008.
Yeah. Who was there?
Well, I mean, I know Adrian Angelo, I know Corey Paul, you had Ras,
DJ Primo.
Yeah, DJ Primo was our DJ. Took it to a whole another level. He was chopping and screwing videos before it was
director.
Over. Wow. Yeah, he was the choir director. Hillary Pradia. Let me see who else was there. See, when y'all ask those questions, artists will be like, "Wait, you didn't mention me."
Yeah. I'm sorry. This was 2008.
Yeah. So, I mean, who was around in 2008?
But then remember, he said he feel young, so he better
Gifted, Vaughn, 007.
Yes.
SOM.
Probably Little Rowdy.
007 wasn't around.
He wasn't? He wasn't?
Little Rowdy.
I thought he was on the tribute track with Primo, wasn't he?
That was after, though. That was later.
Hometown Hero.
So
he
Psy, Cold-Cuts.
Psy, yeah. Cold-Cuts.
SOM.
Shout out.
SOM, that's the twins, right?
Twins, yeah.
They were one of the ones that was asking is like, when y'all gonna have him on? And I was I was joking with him like, who?
Those are my
Never.
boys. Those are my boys. Yeah, genuine guys, man.
Yeah, man.
But and I don't mean to push a trade, but something happened with your wife.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, you can just
and the reason I'm asking is because I heard he talk about it, and I'm like, yo, how is he talking about this?
Yeah, so when you go into missions on the front line, it's different than rap. Rap is kind of, you get your reward here. You sign autographs, you sell merch, you get money. That's how it is for artists
People
nowadays.
think you're cool.
Yeah, people think you're cool. You get to high cap a little bit on, get the VIP room. You get all those perks. And, when you face Jesus, he's not going to reward you. You're getting your reward in full here.
Yeah.
But it's the things that you do in ministry, because I separate industry and ministry. And so I would say that you're getting your reward in full when you're rapping. Now, when you get off stage and you start spending time with people and you have a group of disciples that you're intentionally pouring into, and you have people that you're investing in, and you're not just feeding the homeless once a month. You're not just doing the turkey drive at Thanksgiving or the toy giveaway. I mean, you're in people's lives, and if you ask them, hey, who discipled you, they would say your name.
Yeah.
Wow. Or if you ask them, hey, who made an impact on your life, they wouldn't just say, oh, it was a song. Most people don't do that. Oh, it was one song that changed my life. And so when you're invested in people, that's the stuff you're going to get rewarded for. And the Bible tells you, pursue eternal riches. And so when you go on the front line in ministry, not in rapping, all right, but when you go on the front line in ministry and you say, I'm going to come and invade darkness, I'm going to take on a community, or I'm going to, invade a certain space where darkness dwells, that's when Satan is coming after you the hardest. And he came, a 14-year marriage, he came as hard as he could. And he took my ex-wife right out. Wow. She obviously wasn't building a foundation on the rock the whole time. Remember, we got saved pretty much the same time, and just kind of went to Bible study, and we're good church people. And then I grow into becoming a leader, And so 2008, I'm like, hey, babe, we're going to launch a nonprofit. I'm going to sell the cleaning company. I'm about to go into ministry. Are you with me? Are you rocking with that? Because you got to be on one accord for that.
Yeah.
And she was all for it. But then severe depression hit her, and she began taking some pills, a Zoloft, I think it was, or something like that, antidepressants. And then after work, she starts hanging out with them, and they're drinking. They got alcohol in the cabinets, and I'm a minister, the gospel, she's worried about what it's going to do to my reputation. And then next thing you know, she's going to clubs, and then next thing you know, she's not coming home. And the whole time, of course, I'm praying, right? Because I love my wife. I plan on being married 80 years because I got married so young. But and then next thing you know, it just gets real ugly, and I felt like that was my Job moment. I found out she had an affair. And if you've never been through that, you just don't know the ugliness you feel, because the Bible said the two become one. And so this is your one flesh, you and your wife.
Yeah.
And she has went outside of that marriage. And so now you're feeling it. And I broke down one day and said, God, take this ugliness away from me. And I feel like he just lifted it off me, and I was free, but I still was married. And so through a series of conversations, she really didn't want and still doesn't desire to follow Jesus as her Lord and Savior. And I'm talking about all in.
Yeah.
And when I look back in retrospect, some people are like, God hates divorce. Well, just so you know, God hates sin, not just divorce. He hates all sin.
Come on.
I was one of the ones that was like, oh, divorce, it's the worst thing.
The Bible says.
Yeah. But I can tell you, that once Jesus made that exception, if someone commits adultery, you're permitted.
Yeah.
Come on.
I was still looking for, hey, if there's a way to save this marriage, I will. And but there wasn't. She didn't want to follow Jesus. I'm a man of God. I'm going to follow Jesus before I follow anybody else. And her role to follow me as I follow Christ, it wasn't going to work. And she agreed. I agreed that we need a divorce. And so we divorced, and that was the story on that. Any
and
details
that's like
on this?
2008.
Can I
that was
ask something?
2010. So that was 2 years in.
Yeah.
That Satan was hammering, going for my wife.
Wow, that must have been.
Can I ask something? Because you seem to be the person that a lot of people turn to, right? Whenever they need that encouragement, they need that to be built up. Who did Tre9 turn to?
Yeah.
And I know God, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, who is there for you? Like
During that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have people now and then people then. Man, to be honest with you, you'd be surprised how much Gifted supported me during that time. Gifted was in my court, because there were some people that were against me. The clergy was against me. My board of directors, they were like, oh, you can't move on into a new relationship yet. And I fell in love with Amanda, my wife today. And it just like, it's almost like I checked out of one relationship, and as soon as I got divorced, God sends me this other woman. And so people were like, oh, that's a rebound.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, you're still wounded. And I'm like, well, look at me now.
Yeah.
I just want to say that we adopted 2 kids, from the street. We have one biological son. I took her 13-year-old daughter. That's my daughter today. Technically a stepdaughter, but I have 4 kids. And so a lot of the board members apologized to me because they were wrong. And they misjudged that situation. And the pastor and I, a year later, made amends because he had pretty much said, hey, I'm pulling support back from you. So so Satan had interrupted every plan I had to launch this ministry, took my wife, took money from me. So I was like stripped of everything.
Yeah.
And that's when you get to see if you can trust God as your provider. That's when scriptures come alive.
Come on.
And so I don't doubt him for money. I don't place all my stake in people, because, some people are like, oh, without my wife, I'd fall apart.
Yeah.
It's like, what? It shouldn't
They're
be
my
that way.
everything.
You're my everything. It's like, no, Jesus is your everything. And because you could lose your wife, you could lose your husband. They could die in a tragic car accident. And what you going to do? You going to fall apart, crumble?
Yeah.
While you're alive, build on the rock. Fall in love with
Yes.
Jesus to where you need only him.
Amen. That's good. A good word.
Everything else is just an add-on. You know
Yeah,
what
it
I'm saying?
is. It's
Yeah.
a
It's a
blessing. That's why I said it's a
blessing.
blessing to be alive.
Yeah.
Man.
I got a question for you, man. So all that happened because you made the decision to go into full ministry. You felt
Full-time,
called. You
yeah.
felt to follow Jesus like Jesus was doing ministry 24/7,
Yes,
right, in the streets. Do you feel that's why a lot of people hold back?
Yeah.
Because there is a real sacrifice,
Yeah,
right?
there is.
That you had to go through that you were willing to make, but your partner really wasn't there, and that affected you. So
Yeah. Well, she was there. She was about it. But you know what that cost me? The Mercedes convertible had to go.
yeah.
The car notes had to go. I still had my
Not
house.
the convertible.
Because you had a business, right?
I had a
was
business.
probably
I remember the
providing.
Mercedes. I remember
Yeah, all the
Mercedes.
Yeah.
financial security, you had to give it up
Yeah.
and trust God. And so when that goes, your wife, if she says she's with it and she's going with it, then come on, trust me. I'm following God. Now, if the man is like, he's out of line, he's lazy, sitting at home, talking about, I'm going to blow up my album and we're going to get paid, baby, just hang on one more year. Like, that's different.
Let's move to
You know,
Cali.
no,
I need
this-
to make it.
yeah.
I'm move to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I saw you in a movie with Pastor Levi.
Yeah, that's my
Was
boy.
that your Mercedes convertible in the video with the drop the?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Really?
I mean, I
was,
remember the movie, but
You care about possessions?
I just
Don't
remember
you
being
get it?
yeah, I was the maitre d' with the gun that handed
Yeah,
it to the guy who
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
kill the guy. But
Hey, well, crazy that he brought that up. A lot of people don't know there used to be a principal at a school.
You used to be a principal? What?
never. Only acting in a SOM video.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's crazy because one of them was a janitor while the other one was in school. Like, we had Mary and Martha. I was like, dang, bro, when are y'all working? And the other one? No,
Yeah. You know, one of the things they don't have now in Christian hip hop that we had was a community that didn't rely on digital relationships. You know, if you were gonna get to know somebody, you had to go where they were.
Yeah.
And so now you don't. You just like, oh, this dude looks arrogant. Oh, this dude's,
Yeah.
you know.
He posted
I
a
don't
picture,
like him.
and I
don't
see
like
his shoes.
music.
His shoes
Yeah.
are too nice.
Right.
friends
He's
online.
interested in the things of the world.
Yeah, it's just so much. And unless you get to know somebody, which we had to do, I had to go to Florida to meet the other rappers. I had to go to Oakland, you know, to Bridging the Gap. I had, you know, Florida was a Flavor Fest. I had to go to Atlanta for Holy Hip Hop Awards. I had to go to New York for Rap Fest. And because I did all that, I built so much, so many relationships that some still are doing it today. And I can call them like, hey, what's going on with, you know,
Man.
and others, you know, they're not doing it anymore. But man, those were good times. And I think in Houston, it's my responsibility as someone who understands Christian hip hop to make sure our community stays that way.
Amen.
You know, that we have that kind of community and nothing divides us. And so that's what I committed to do with Rappers of the Round Table.
How do you feel about the current state of CHH in Houston right now?
I think it's great. I think it's great. I'm excited.
Keep it real.
From
Trey.
your podcast,
keep it real, Trey.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it real. I mean, I'm sitting on a podcast that interviews Christian rappers. You know, that's good. I see we have one of the largest Christian hip hop radio stations in the world. That I dreamed of that. I prayed for that, and it's come to pass. We have, multiple rappers emerging from hoods that come from gangs and come from the streets that are rapping for Jesus in the hoods on the mic and leading people to Christ like more than any city I know during this season. We have, entrepreneurs that are rappers. We have, I have a list for you because, I wanted to make sure y'all knew that
Top 10?
that Christian hip hop, is still very much at the top in Houston compared to most cities.
Really?
And I remember y'all saying that it wasn't, and
That was probably
y'all,
Not right now.
That was probably-
y'all were saying like what happened to it, and I was like,
So give us a couple reasons why you think it's still like. Are you saying it's number one?
Somebody told
Or
me you
are
had
you-
40 reasons.
I have about 30 something, but I would say that first of all you got to understand we're not in competition with anybody.
Right,
There's
right,
no award,
yes.
but I know the climate of Christian hip hop in other cities because I know the leaders there. And the cities that I don't know, well, there's just not a lot happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a few that I say that have some things stronger than we do. But there's a whole lot of things that we have that other cities go, man, I wish I was in your city. I wish I was there. I love what y'all are doing. It's just so much happening there. You know.
Yeah.
Well, in 2012, for example, DJ Wado, he basically crowned Houston as the number one city for CHH in the nation, right?
And who you think was behind that? No, it ain't me, but who you think was behind that?
It was the whole movement. It was the whole movement.
Yeah, but who you think did that research to get that to Wado so that Wado could agree?
Who was it? Sketch?
Absolutely. We have a Christian
Shout
hip
out
hop.
to Sketch, man.
And I agree. There was a movement.
Yeah, but we have a Christian hip hop historian in our city.
Hey,
which is
put
another
some-
reason why we're great. in the
We're
city.
trying to get Sketch on the podcast, man. But
that's-
they were like, "Who?" I'm like, "Bros."
Hey,
Now, I've
that's
met
me.
Sketch a few times.
That's me
and,
because to me, I'm ignorant to a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? Especially CHH related. Like, it's just, whenever I came in, I didn't go too far back. Like, I'm going to go back 10, 15,
Sure,
20
yeah.
years.
And
So
just
that's
get
fine.
in the
Like, I'm just
stream and
build-
keep going, right?
Yeah, I was
then-
like, it's a rabbit hole. I'm going to just build off of right now and forward.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Now we believe that it was a movement, and something happened. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the OGs didn't pass on the baton to the younger generation.
That's
you know
not
what I'm
true.
saying? That's not.
That's not true.
Well, what happened?
I mean, I can name probably 15 rappers that I passed the baton to. I can
Drop
see
some
I
names, drop some names.
can show you
Yeah.
probably 15
Well, not
rappers
just
that Von Juan
Really?
put on. Yeah, there was Von Juan had Wolves in Sheep's Clothing. That was a whole entourage of MC. Matter of fact, with Von Juan, I always like, bro, why do you do so many rappers? Why do you record so many albums, so many camps? So, well, because he wanted to give these guys a boost while also boosting his clique and his name. But still,
Shout out
who
Grown
else
and
does
State.
that? Who else has put on that many rappers?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The other cities don't do that. They're very focused on their little
Their
box
thing,
and their thing. And they might click up, which is another thing our city, I think, deserves recognition for. Is like, we're not in a bunch of cliques. Like I can call the Latino rappers, the few white rappers, the black rappers. There's no division.
Yeah.
We get together. If there is ever any issues, they don't last long.
Yeah.
Like we're pretty good about talking to each other and working things out. And other cities, you don't see the camaraderie we have.
Yeah.
When I started Rappers, the Round Table rappers came together. Not all of them. You know,
Yeah.
of course, everybody's busy. Everybody has different stuff to do. But
Do we have the same amount of quantity and quality of rappers that we had 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
well,
now
it's so that's you know, they say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I guess music is in the ear of the listener, right? So you may say, man, this dude is fire. I may say that dude is not fire, you know? So when you say quality, that's relevant to the person listening, right?
quality
so
and quantity.
yeah, quantity we do.
Okay.
I mean,
about quality?
there's rappers you probably don't even know about.
But you see, I kind of know a lot of rappers.
Yeah, okay.
But watch, so this is the thing in regards to quantity. For
Yeah.
example, a lot of these rappers, they're effective locally, but not nationally.
And
that has to do with quality.
Okay, maybe
All these
not
local
necessarily.
rappers.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
saying.
disagree.
For example,
I guess
how
what
many
I see
how
is
many
like
national recording artists do we have in Houston? CHH
I mean,
that are doing it. We have Bizzle.
Bizzle,
okay,
who's really from Cali though.
right, and
But he's still H Town.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
he's
He
Houston.
lives.
He
He
yeah.
reps Cali
he
though.
talks about Houston in his.
He made a Golden State Warriors song, not a Rockets,
yeah,
not a Rockets song.
but no, he.
So we have
he's
Bizzle.
Houston. Okay,
Like,
so are you going by 2020?
yeah, no,
2021?
like current. Yeah, now.
Last 5 years?
No, now.
Okay.
You know, because I mean,
So
our
okay,
whole
now-
argument
now
is that it has moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, but that's one thing.
Yeah, I see
No,
where
that's one
Trey's
thing.
coming
Yeah,
from.
that's
He's
one
coming
thing.
from.
Yeah, that's one
See,
thing.
Trey's coming
Yeah.
from local impact
And I'm coming
that
and
other
I'm-
cities don't have that.
And I'm coming
Right?
from Christian hip hop culture.
Yeah.
I'm talking fashion. I'm talking
Okay.
and
And it
ministry.
can't just be
I'm
one
talk-
thing. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
just
saying?
if you go by
I
music,
agree.
Yeah, music. Come on, bro. Take Reach Records out of Atlanta, and what do you got?
We have Indie Tribe. We have who else?
Aaron
do we have?
Cole's
We have
from Atlanta?
RMG. No, Aaron Cole is from
What?
Arkansas.
RMG
We have.
is not in Atlanta.
It's not.
That's in Tennessee, right?
Is it in
It's not
Tennessee?
Atlanta.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's in Nashville, I
My
think.
boy Doc Watson. I
Oh.
talk to him all the time.
Man.
Yeah. So Reach Records moved to Atlanta, and the rappers come there to sign.
Yeah, it kind of hibernated.
I mean, give
right?
Von
Everybody
Juan a-
hibernated.
yeah.
I mean, people are moving to Atlanta
Why?
because it's popping over
Because
there.
Reach
Because the
Records signs
spotlight-
artists.
Yeah, well, that too. But we have not just Reach. We
I don't
have
know
Indie
anyone.
Tribe.
I don't know anyone in Houston rapping that says I got to move to Atlanta to make it.
Dang, I was
Well,
going to tell
well,
y'all
we
something
have-
at the end
we
of the
have- we-
podcast. I
we
guess not no
actually-
more. No.
We actually have.
Hovey just moved here.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
his,
he got
his
married.
girlfriend lives here.
His
girlfriend
wife.
lives here.
Put some
But
respect
check
on
this
it.
out.
Is he
But
married
check this
already?
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, he got
Yeah, his
married.
wife.
But he didn't come over here for CHH.
He came over here for a girl, and he's still here.
But check this out.
Shout out Hovey.
But also,
HOUCHH love you. No.
so check this out. I didn't know that, by the way. So we have an engineer.
Come on, he
we have
read- it looks-
AC. I'm not sure if you have you heard
AC
AC.
is the engineer. He does a lot of Reach Records
Yes,
engineering.
yes.
and
So
Indie
he's actually
Tribe.
moving to Atlanta, and I'm sure that
What's he going
he's not
for?
AC,
to mix
you let me down,
because
bro.
It's
what?
popping. It's popping over
And what
there.
does it give you?
Well, he
He's
has
gonna
a
get
career.
paid. He's getting
Yeah,
money.
of course.
So,
But that just
they're
tells
moving for
us-
career purposes.
Yeah.
it ain't because of impact.
Well, it doesn't have to be necessarily
In
because
your
of
view,
impact.
in my view,
I think impact and
Well, it could be
and
impacting the bigger picture of the people that listen to the music.
I think
bro,
impact
music
and
is not. Music is powerful, but the real impact is relationship. We know that.
True. That's true. Yeah.
It's relationship, and our artists are relational. You know what I'm saying? The artists here are doing ministry. They're in the streets weekly.
Yeah.
I'm talking 4 times a week. We have artists in the streets rapping for crowds of 20.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Starting mentorship reading books, doing painting programs. Like, other cities have some of that, but they don't have it on the level that we have it when it comes to Christian hip hop ministry impact. You can name music and albums released, because the number one label is Reach Records. They're huge, and if they move to Houston, would you say we're popping now and we're the number one city?
Well, not necessarily, but
how do you reach?
But people, it actually, the spotlight is there. You get what I'm saying?
What spotlight? Who's shining the spotlight?
Well, check it out. Like, for example, Rapzilla, we had Chad. He's in San Diego, right? He's focusing on Atlanta. And I get what you're saying. It can't just be one thing.
Chad ain't calling no shots either. I mean, he owns a website.
Yeah.
Atlanta does not call shots. Now, I love Atlanta. Scott Free's there, and that's my boy. And I his ministry is phenomenal, and what he's doing it needed to be supported by Christian rappers like Reach Records from the get-go, and it didn't get supported. Down here, I have a ministry, like Scott has a ministry.
Yeah.
These rappers rally around me. They support the mission. They come out. They don't charge. They don't be like, hey, I got to get paid. I'm getting royalties. These rappers will hit the streets, go to bat if there's 20 people in the crowd or if there's 200.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these other cities don't have that.
Yeah.
They have a record label that has the finances to put out records that go national.
Yeah. Well, we actually have a fan.
To me, that's shallow.
We actually have a fan on one of the questions was, when are you going to take Hip Hop Hope to Atlanta? Yeah, that's a real question.
So you're saying Houston is still holding.
Shout out to Yo EDD.
I don't need to take it in Atlanta because Scott Free is doing a wonderful job with City Takers. Scott Free is in the streets, and if I was going to do anything, it would be, hey, Scott, let me support you financially on what you're doing.
So the Atlanta rappers, the Atlanta CHH artists need to get behind Scott Free.
I think the big ones do. Yeah. I think the big ones do. I can get Bizzle will support me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I ask Bizzle, he's the biggest name here.
He's top 3 in CHH too.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, I think I don't know any artist in this city that is like, we're gonna hate on you, we're not gonna support you, we're not gonna get behind you. It's these guys that come from other cities that don't know the history and they don't know the climate because they're not in the streets, they're in the booth.
Okay, so my whole issue was, okay, Trey is saying that Houston is still number 1 for CHH.
What he's trying to say, he's moving to Atlanta and he's trying to hype himself up for it.
Goodbye right now.
There's no prize in it anyway.
No. But it's like, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Ministry impact is important as, for example, just having music that is actually resonating with people, because that can also influence. Now, it shouldn't be the only thing, and I think that if a city's going to be number 1, it needs to have the ministry impact as well. So
that's what the rappers are saying. They're saying, we preach the gospel, we bring it to your hood, we come against.
But I ain't never seen you in the hood.
So if the very thing that you're saying makes you the hottest or the number 1 or whatever isn't being done on a higher level than the music, then that tells me you got a problem. That tells me that the priority, and see, I'm telling you, in our city, the priority is doing what we say in our lyrics, not making better music than we do better ministry and impact communities.
Yeah.
And so that's why I place Houston on that level to say, bro, we're up there
ministry wise.
I'm not gonna, because we can go total. Well, I mean, you want to get music.
Well, there ain't that many options in CHH cities, so Houston's up there regardless. Okay. But I get his point that it's all about the impact locally.
Let me give you this.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So let's go to music, since I don't want you to think it's all ministry. It is industry too.
Okay.
We have more known secular artists that either convert or collaborate with Christian hip hop than any other city.
But that was still now.
Vaughn had that whole album.
Well, yeah, that's true. But that was 2014.
But how many other cities can say we impact the secular community in a way that they'll work with us?
That's true.
That they'll come out, they'll be a part. They know us. We
facts,
know
baby,
them.
facts.
Yeah. Catch them in an award show
Tre9,
saying, "Thank God."
We have venues. We have more venues. We have more booking outlets. Why do you think these artists come to our city? Because they get paid to do it. Is that how it is everywhere? No. Our city pays people. We have churches. We have mega churches that know about us. Christian hip hop is in our mega churches. In most of our churches, suburban churches. That's an industry, because now you're talking about revenue, booking revenue and shows. Why do you think they're doing so many shows here? People are paying them for that.
Yeah. That's big.
So that's another one. So we have multiple venues, right? We have CHH veterans from the early 90s and 2000s that are still rapping for Jesus today. That tells me that you have some longevity.
Okay.
That's industry.
Okay, Trey.
We do more song collaborations across ethnicities. We don't
That's true. That's true.
Hey, if y'all need a brother, hit me up. A Mexican brother, Hispanic brother. A brother in Christ is what I mean.
We have this kind of leans into ministry, but we have a lot of CHH rappers that are leading churches, leading ministry, nonprofits that are pastoral. We deploy more CHH rappers into the hoods than any city I know.
Okay.
We have, that's ministry, right?
Right.
We have one of the largest Christian hip hop radio stations. Atlanta don't have that.
That's true.
And once again, this is not Atlanta versus Houston, because
it is.
I trust a lot of those people.
So you're saying
they
Houston
play
is still
more.
holding.
Houston will always be holding.
They play more Atlanta rappers than they do Houston rappers.
We have the biggest. We have the most Latino.
That's true, though. That's true.
We have the most Latino rappers, that are thriving than any city I know.
Well, that's because we have a lot of Latinos.
Yeah.
Well,
all my cousins trying to rap now.
Once again, who can say that?
Yeah.
Because we've always had a lot of Latinos, but it wasn't a lot of Latinos in Christian hip hop doing stuff.
Yeah, I'll say
they disappeared for a while.
Yeah.
You were asking where all the black rappers were. Well, dang, there's a lot of black rappers, a whole lot of them out here rapping. It's just in Christian hip hop in Houston, I think we don't look at the the color of people's skin and say, well, this is the Latino Christian hip hop rap. We're the black guys.
No.
We're all together.
No, I feel you. I feel you. But I was kind of basically basing it in comparison to how it used to be.
Because that's good. That's progress. Because we got more Latinos in our city now than we ever did. So that means I've been complaining, like, where are the Latino rappers rapping in Spanish?
Los rechazados.
We need them so much.
Yeah.
So,
we be standing in front of the Michoacano.
Yeah, bro. Like, we need more. We need more. Because there's a lot more Hispanics here than ever.
Let me ask you a question.
I should know Spanish.
I will rap for fajitas.
Take us back to when you started doing prison ministry.
Yeah.
Because you were doing prison ministry for a while, and you started to see some fruit.
Yeah, that's where I started.
So
you don't do it no more?
So
yes.
If you follow Trey, it just looked real crazy because there's a bunch of tatted up dudes.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'm like, he building an army.
It's weird to me.
So take us back to that, Trey.
So Boyd Harrell, Cool Ministries, Pastor Jesus Lopez, Last Call Ministries, took me in early on, and then later, David Trickett, Charm Prison Ministries, all these prison ministries. When they finally accepted rap and they started taking rappers in, I was one of the ones early on that went in, probably late 90s. And so when you go into a prison and you rap, nobody sucks. Everybody gets an applause.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so, come on, invite me. No.
They will support you because they know you're volunteering and they appreciate time out of that cell in listening to something different besides praise and worship type music, right?
Yeah.
So they value that a rapper came, even if you're elementary or you're not that good. So maybe that encouraged me to keep pushing, and they make you feel so good. And I always tell them, like, man, y'all encourage me.
So you're telling me the juveniles were hyping me up whenever I went up there and was talking to them?
Well, the juveniles is different.
Juveniles
will look at you crazy.
Okay.
They ain't
I had that too.
Yes, the juveniles, they don't play. If you suck, they're gonna give you a suck face like you suck, right? But the adults are like, oh man, go and let him have pass. He's doing it for Jesus, you know. And that's Christian hip hop in general, right? In churches and stuff. And so prison ministry launched me. And I've been doing that for 2 decades. So guys that are still locked up are like, man, remember when you came back? And I remember me, and I'm like, really, from '99? Like, I'm
you know what the tattoos.
I just got out.
But when they get out, that's when the ministry happens for me. It's like now I can walk alongside you. Now, why the Latino and ex-gang members or present gang members draw to me I think it's just because I'm not traditional church, and in Disciple the Streets, hip hop. When you put all that together, they feel more at home.
Yeah.
When they go to a church, they feel maybe a little more judged, and maybe it's a little too formal, and maybe the music is a little too soft. You know, it's like you become a Christian now. I gotta learn and like contemporary Christian music or gospel music, and it's like they just ain't rocking with that. They want to be real, you know. And so, you know, over time I've learned how to work with those guys and understanding the wounds and how deep they've been scarred by life, by prison, institutionalization, all that I'm patient enough. I can deal with slander, backbiting, turning on me, taking advantage of me, stealing. Like I can.
So that's
deal
like
with
the
that.
downside of working with these ex-prisoners. And did that happen a lot, Trey?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I don't know a street dude that I've worked with, a real street dude, because we got guys that, you know, they sold some marijuana in the streets, so now they're from the streets, or they lived in a bad neighborhood, and so they're from. But then you got guys who have stolen, killed, robbed, gang warfare, riots in prison, didn't have a mom, adopted, foster home to foster home, went in prison as a juvenile, in and out, 39 felonies. You know, you have those guys, and those guys will always hurt me.
Yeah.
But what do you expect? They've been hurt all their life. They've been rejected all their life. So the guard and the defense, before they get hurt, they're gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
And so they've always tried to, you know, guard themselves so they would hurt me before I would hurt them.
Yeah.
But I wasn't gonna hurt them. And but how do you convince somebody I'm not gonna hurt you? Trust me.
Because I saw for a very long time, like, man, like Pyrex was killing it, Ronnie was killing it. They were serving.
Yep.
So you gave these people a platform.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then and I'm gonna be real with you, Trey. Like, some people have called my line up. You know what I'm saying? And they were like, hey, y'all should expose Trey. I'm like, for what, bro? You know what I'm saying? Because me, I've never really met you like that, but I've always loved you. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, man.
But it's like, why am I going to expose him for? And he's like, oh, well, he's using people's stories to get financial donations.
I love that.
Shame on you, man. Shame on you.
And for example, Pyrex and Ronnie, and they're not even serving with the Lord, and he's using their story and capitalizing on it.
Yeah. So
clear the air on that, Trey.
So first of all, when you come to Jesus, all you have is your testimony, you know, and I'm not. Most pastors will sit down for 2 years and then we'll
talk again.
But I don't even see Jesus doing that. The woman at the well, she wasn't discipled for 2 years. The demoniac he said, go testify.
Right.
So I never was going to deprive anybody. Plus, think about it. You've been gangbanging. You've been tearing up the streets.
Yeah.
You've been a beast all your life.
Yeah.
And now you've given your life to Christ. You've followed in baptism.
You're used to putting in work.
Yeah. And somebody tells you, sit down, don't do nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then on top of that, who am I to say that God can't use him in a moment of genuine, true conversion to reach people? I know for a fact there's people in our ministry today because Pyrex testified, because Sonic testified, because James testified, because Jason testified. There's people in our ministry serving that are soldiers, that are leading people because I did that, and I took that chance, and I rolled the dice. Yeah, and
let me paint the picture real fast, man. Pyrex is taking off his shirt.
Yeah, I remember
concerts.
that. Well,
paint the picture. What kind of tattoos you got?
So behind closed doors, discipleship is as you go.
Yeah.
So when he would pop his shirt off, I would say, Pyrex, if you do that at church venues, there's going to be a problem. Right? There's going to be pushback. And he was like, really? That's what I always do. And so eventually he stopped doing that.
Okay. And that's a part of you letting them do their thing. Yes. They're coming out of the streets.
Yes.
They're still growing.
Yes. They weren't raised in the church.
Smoking, cursing, abusing women, fornicating, all that comes with it.
Yeah.
If you ain't built for that, then you ain't ready to follow Jesus, because he had Judas, he had Peter, he had all these characters that you would think, y'all just saw a miracle, y'all just saw him turn water to wine, and you're still
doubting,
and you're still acting crazy,
and you're turning on him, and you're betraying him, you know, and so
years off.
Man, if there's no pastor that's greater than Jesus. He was the greatest pastor, evangelist, shepherd, teacher. But some of these pastors think they're better than Jesus, and they have a better system of shepherding. If you want to know the best pastor to model after, it's Jesus. Yeah. Follow Jesus. And so I would always have to justify my actions by looking at the scripture, not looking at, well, he's been pastoring 10 years. I'm sure he's right.
He must know better.
Yeah.
And then you judge
that's
the fruit.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So think about Pyrex today. You see, he's not, doing what he used to do. He might be rolling a blunt on his Instagram, as far as I know. But behind closed doors, I talk to that man, and I'm like, I'm here for you, bro. The prodigal son's father was not sitting at home like, oh my gosh, look at him. He's in the
Look at him on IG once again, bro.
But that's what we do. That's the problem with social media, right? Yeah. I mean, I could imagine him like, man, send my son home.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing with Pyrex.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, come home. That's what I talked to Ronnie Sonic. He's got 4 20-year sentences right now.
Wow.
And so, he sent his girlfriend to us. Man. And his girlfriend is and her name's Rolana. We hired her. She's a discipleship beast, man. She runs a woman's home. Like, that's because of Ronnie Legg and what he experienced in this ministry. That's because of the impact we had on him. Wow. That we have a soul. And that girl was gangster like him.
Man.
Wow.
She could tell you some
testimony. Ronnie's doing good now.
Ronnie's in prison, so as good as you can do in prison.
Yeah, and that's pretty good. I'm telling you, because if it wasn't for prison, some people end up dead.
Absolutely. Man. I'm surprised he didn't end up dead. Yeah. But he was an offender since he was 14 and committed a murder, and that's the lifestyle he knows. He lived with me for 8 months and did really good.
Shout out to Ronnie. I hope you ain't watching this, but if you is,
he'll hear about it through Rolana. She talks.
One thing I wanted to ask, right?
But hold on. So those people who have said that you're capitalizing on people's stories.
Yeah, let's talk about the pimping your story. That's
pimp my testimony.
That became such a problem for me that I just said, you know what, all y'all won't share nothing then. Y'all won't share your testimony. If that's how you feel, then don't share it. So you don't. When's the last time you heard an ex-gang member, someone with tats on their face and stuff, testify through Eyes on Me? Mm-hmm. You don't hear it no more. Mm-hmm. Because I realized that, okay, if that's going to be a stumbling block for people, and they're going to say that I'm using them to get money, silliest thing I ever heard. But if they're going to say that, then I'm going to remove that barrier. Now what do you got? Because since I stopped doing that, the ministry has only grown more.
Yeah.
It's only got more community partners, more employees, more laborers, mobilizing over 5,000 people a year in volunteerism into the streets from churches. We've seen thousands of professions of faith. We serve over 50,000 a year. During COVID, we served over 100,000 a year. Mm-hmm. I could go on and on. Yeah. And so if using them for money was such a great strategy, how come it's not the strategy today? Because if it worked so good.
Yeah.
God was doing something during that time period.
Yeah, I believe that.
Where these guys from the streets, for some reason, showed up and wanted me to disciple them, right? And I was a younger disciple. I mean, I was a rapper turned, missionary. So I'm learning discipleship.
You were just turning at that time.
And so I was just going through this bombardment of these gang members wanting to rock with me. And so they're by me. They're setting up speakers. They're like, Trey, what do you need, man? Hey, man, tell your testimony, man. This is the streets. We're in Fifth Ward.
Yeah.
And as a result, people came to Jesus. The ministry, and I'll never take this from those guys. The ministry of Eyes on Me through Hip Hop Hope was birthed because it was in the streets with street dudes. Yeah. It wasn't a white dude. I'm not from the suburbs, but it wasn't because a white man from the suburbs had a plan.
Yeah.
It was organic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what we had was special, and nobody will ever be able to take that from us by saying we pimped the story, because those stories belong to God anyway.
Yeah. Testimonies and gospel. Shame on
you. You know what's crazy is that the person who told me that, I saw him a month later with a photo with Trey. I'm like, bro, I
went over there trying to pimp my testimony.
If you really felt that way, you should have talked to Trey. Yeah. And come on, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I did have lots of conversations about that, and one guy in particular from prison, he got pretty mad. Pyrex, was a participant in that as well. And, a lot of these things that people have apologized behind closed doors. I was wrong, but think about this too, bro. Like, your whole pursuit in the streets is get money.
Yeah, okay.
So you come over into ministry, that don't go away. You're thinking get money.
Yeah.
So let's just say you testify, and a lot of views come to that page, and you're thinking, man, that's money. Where's that going?
Yeah.
Oh, my testimony, I testified for a donor because this ministry had a real impact on these people.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's still, 10 years later, and it still had an impact on them. And someone writes a check and says, I want to support this ministry that's going in the prisons, that's going in the streets where no one wants to go. I want to write a check. So if you're from the street, you're thinking, Tre9 just got a check for $5,000 and put it in his pocket.
Yeah.
He gave the Lord 10%. Where's mine?
But it goes into an account, and we have a board of directors. It doesn't go into my pocket. I did missions with Eyes on Me for free. I was struggling. I was 2 months behind on my house note. I've struggled to build Eyes on Me and be what he wanted me to be. I got to a point where I got a grant and I got $8 an hour. And then little by little, God would increase me, and then the board would increase. And then now we got an executive director, Dennis Turnipseed, who's from the corporate world and managed millions of dollars and hundreds of employees. And so
I love seeing that, by the way, Trey.
Yeah, bro, it's a beautiful thing. And so now people from the street get jobs with us. People from the rappers get paid to do stuff with us. You know what I'm saying? And so all that work early on, a lot of those guys, and I had to explain it to Pyrex as well. I was like, Pyrex, it's not like dope selling where I'm the man at the top. Somebody writes a check, I put it in my pocket. It goes into an account. And I can't touch it. It's not like a sole proprietorship or a church. Churches, pastors, some pastors start a church and they get money.
We know
it all goes to them. And
I've heard stories.
But a nonprofit, we're accountable. We got to file a 990. So all of our funds can be accounted for, and it didn't go to Tre9.
Can I ask you something?
And by the way, we had hired Pyrex because he was such a great soldier for the kingdom. But he ended up deciding he wanted to make more money. Moved to Dallas. And that's when I lost Pyrex.
I wanted to ask you, and I'm glad you brought up Pyrex because great example. What does it feel like whenever you've discipled somebody, for lack of better words, the world may say it, invested time in somebody, mentor somebody, and then for them to backslide or fall away or leave, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure over time you've come to understand it differently, but at the beginning, what was it like for you? What did it feel like?
It breaks my heart. Like the best example I can give you, the good part is it's a good experience because it humbles you. It causes you to rely on God, knowing that it's not you who can save anybody, keep anybody. It's got to be the Holy Spirit at work in their life. Because some people come to Christ and it's an emotional encounter. They didn't really receive the Holy Spirit. They just kind of wanted to change their behavior. They wanted to be a good kid because they've been bad all their life. And so come to the altar and give your life to Jesus. He's going to make everything well. Oh, well, that sounds good. And then you come, and then now it becomes a behavior adjustment. And so you adjust, I'm not going to smoke as much. I'm not going to cuss as much. I'm going to do good. I'm going to get a job. But the Holy Spirit he doesn't exist to give jobs to make your life more convenient.
Have good morals.
No, when the Spirit lives in you, you know because you get convicted of sin.
Change.
Born again.
Yeah, so some people really don't get saved, but you're thinking they're saved and they're not. They experience no conviction of sin. They'll run through every female in the ministry if they have to, fornicating, tearing up stuff. They'll be deceitful. They'll manipulate with no conviction. That's scary, right?
Yeah.
So when that happens, that's scary because you're just like, dang, you were in my house. Like you slept in my room. You took my kid's room, and you lived there. Like that's different. But when I see the struggle of a person who's really given their life to Christ, they're really trying to change, and they get knocked off by some relationship with some female, some money situation where they were going to get money, or relapse into drugs. Those are always the three most powerful things. I'm just like, I warned you it's going to happen. When you're ready, come back. And then when they come back, it's like the prodigal son returns home and the father embraces him, and it's like, let's do it. Let's start. And they're like, but aren't you going to hold it? Aren't you
mad at me?
Aren't you mad at me? Aren't you going to hold? Because everybody else did that. My father did that. My pastor did that. And so they're like, we just pick up where we left off.
And I like that picture that you continue painting with the prodigal son, because true, a lot of people will come back and it's like, I messed up, you know what I'm saying, with their head down.
Shame.
But to build them back up,
and you think about that story, the father, he just lavished his son. Right? So in our society, it'd be like, man, Trey's taking a picture with that dude again. Oh, he bringing him around again. Yeah. Well, you're the hateful brother. That's who you are. You're the brother in the story.
Yeah.
Come on.
Because you already had access to everything.
Forgive me, Father.
Why are you mad? You had me on the line. Yeah. You know, you're in the ministry. Like, why are you mad? Because he's back in here.
If anything, you should rejoice with heaven.
Yes.
Man.
So how do you handle? I mean, because, you know, people stop doing ministry, Trey. They go back. Mm-hmm. But how do you handle? Because, you know, if anybody, for those people who don't know Tre9, you work hard, bro.
Very.
So how do you handle like burnout, bro? You know, like, have you burned out?
I'm glad he brought that up, bro, because I be seeing you not only on the ministry side, but your first ministry, your family. I see you with your sons and your family. It's like, man, what doesn't this brother do? When does he sleep? When does he rest? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
have you burned out, bro?
So first off, on that end, flowers, brother.
Yes.
Big ups on that, man, because that is not easy. A lot of people. Yeah, man. I keep on talking about it. We're going. Hey, somebody send money for roses. No, but no. But what I want to say is, like, it's crazy how some people will. One side will do good, like the family may do good, but the ministry side of stuff suffers, or vice versa. Which a lot of times is vice versa. The stage presence is amazing, but at home it's like, are you even living it?
Yeah. Well, Acts 20:24, man, Apostle Paul, who suffered more than all of us, right? He said, "For I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace." So that's my task. That's my race. I want to die empty. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could be an entrepreneur, I know, and I could make a lot of money, but I've died to that. You know, I had my janitorial company earlier, and it went from $0 to $500,000, and I had 24 people working for me, and that was in my 20s into my 30s, and it all led to nothing. Still, you know, you're divorced. You know, you're having to answer in a job that you no longer are passionate about, and so when God made me a missionary, when He put me in the field, I said, whatever comes my way, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it 100%. And when you think about the divorce, even in my current marriage, bro, I could give you a story there. You'd be like, how'd you survive that? You know, my wife relapsed. I went through hell. You know, like, but I answered the call. You know, the call of a Christian. You know, to die to yourself every single day. I rest, right? But I'm always gonna respond to the call that I promised God. And so I just exhaust myself, but my wife is with me, and she will tell me, and we had a conversation 5 years ago, is like, if I'm not here enough, call me, tell me. You need to slow down.
Yeah.
And when she tried it, it worked. Because sometimes we could be doing it so much and we don't even know.
You gotta have that communication.
Yeah, and the problem that you see happening with ministers is their wife is not bought in. They're not 100% in love with Jesus like the man is. And then they might have a problem submitting to the man as he submits to Christ. Or the man is not submitted to Christ, and they're like, I don't trust you, you know? Yeah. And so there's always a breakdown. Me and my wife and my kids, we're on one accord. And if we're not, dang it, you better tell me. Because I'm a man and I'm one-track minded.
Yeah, I'll stop right here and we all going to get on track now.
Exactly, man. My wife had 5 spine surgeries. She's probably got, 40% quality of life. She holds down the fort at home like no other woman I know. In real pain. One. Yeah, in pain.
Man, real one.
And people come in and out of our house just nonstop, and she lets it happen. Wow. And if she's hurting and pain, she'll go to the bedroom and chill out, and people, give her space. But me, I'm in love with it. It's like an athlete.
So she deserves a real rose, huh?
Absolutely.
How is she doing now, Trey?
She suffers. She suffers physically. And we don't know what the answer is, but we're going to continue to, see doctors and see how we can help her, and hopefully one day either the surgery or the right meds or something. She can't take pain pills because she's ex-drug addict. Yeah. And so she just kind of sets in the reality that, okay, this is my life and I'm going to suffer for Jesus and I'm going to back my husband And that's how we are. And I have to be intentional to be affectionate and be sensitive. And I just have the greatest setup for a man on mission, you know.
Yeah.
And you would think, oh man, I'd be better if she was healthy and whole and she could get out there with you. Well, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Like in her suffering, my wife she was feeding the homeless 7 days a week when I met her.
Man.
You know how hard that is? Because I jumped in and started helping her and bringing churches. Y'all help us. And
I'd be tired after one day.
Is that what made you fall in love with her?
No, it was her body. Yeah, she
her
came
spiritual body.
She came to Hip Hop Hope. No, as far as that's what made me fall in lust with her, right? Falling in love is a different story. That was her Christian character. Yeah. Don't just soundbite that, please.
Snippet.
But no, it was her character. She loved Jesus.
Yeah.
She was from the street. She understood hip hop. She understood the streets, and that's what I was in. And I told her, I said, look, I'm coming out of a marriage. I know what I want in a woman, and here's the things I want. And if you're down with that, then let's ride. And within 6 months, we got married.
Hey, people be thinking when I'm tripping, whenever I be telling people that, I'm like, that's what I tell. Hey, if you really about it, let's match up resumes. No,
come on, man.
You don't have a wedding in 6 months.
It's good to talk about
that's
that.
what it is, but no, that's true. One thing I want to say, man. Well, really, for anybody watching, man, pray for her.
Yeah,
you know
pray for her back, man.
Yes.
For real.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
I did, because it's going to be way off, right? Because I was doing research.
Mine are going to be way off, too.
I was doing research, right?
Get ready, Trey.
Most of my research came from the YouTubes.
Yeah.
But there was this one person, I don't know if you ever YouTubed yourself.
Oh.
It popped up and it said, Tre9 exposed. And one thing he kept on going back to, because I skipped to the middle, I'm like, what is this brother talking about? Listen, I'm like, he ain't saying, you ever watch a video where they just never say what they're trying to get to?
He was saying that you were throwing up the H and the devil horns.
Stuff you already knew.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's behind him. No, but they were like,
I'm in
the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Tre9 is Illuminati.
Yeah.
You're from Illuminati?
Did you ever see that?
Yes.
You
saw it right when it came out. They sent it to me. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask, they started mentioning NF.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to ask, why do you hate NF?
Well, why do you want to murder NF?
Dang.
Oh, dang. That was crazier than what I was asking.
Yeah.
Why does Tre9 want to murder NF?
So what's the question? Which question? You got a question, and that's another question.
Well, really, have you seen those exposed videos, and what do you think about it?
Well, that's a disgruntled guy that didn't like that. I think his son didn't get on thesouth.com.
That's what it was.
When I was running.
He's probably at home eating potato chips, watching the NBA Finals.
In the woods of
Hey,
Louisiana.
well, if you're at home watching the NBA Finals, switch over to the Let's Chop It Up podcast. Continue doing what you're doing.
Some people in the comments were like, "Amen, brother, amen." I'm like,
I didn't even read.
I knew it all along. Yeah.
No, so Brennan reached out to him and said, "Hey, let's get on a call with Tre9," and he was like, "No, I'm just, you know."
That's how he talks.
Trying to do my YouTube video.
That's how he talks.
Yeah, so it wasn't to be taken serious.
Now we can ask.
So why does Tre9 want to murder NF?
So first of all, I don't know where that came from. I never wanted to murder NF.
What's your beef with NF? For lack of better words.
Yeah, there's no beef with NF.
And this was 6 years ago. The videos that we're talking about 6-7 years ago. So it's like people would chill.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty controversial, right? I was like, all I'm saying is that if you're a Christian rap artist and you have a captive audience of your size, let people know that Jesus is the answer.
Wave that banner.
And I was saying, if you're not gonna do that, then you're not Christian hip hop for one, but you're also a bad representation of Christianity, because there's no other thing that is pointed to us to do more than to share the gospel. If you follow the disciples, they had to share the gospel.
Yeah.
Jesus was sharing the good news about what he was doing. The Apostle Paul, everybody in the New Testament, it was all about getting the gospel out. And they didn't have a Bible, so it wasn't about reading the Bible, studying the Bible. It wasn't about submitting to some pastor at some church in a pulpit.
Yeah.
We just added all that stuff. And so for me, it was just enough. Man, people are dying, going to hell, and they're at your concerts. Just give them Jesus personally. Like, guys, I appreciate y'all loving my music. I appreciate the support. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be nowhere without my relationship with Jesus. And I would encourage you to, find someone that can point you to Jesus. Yeah. That's it. And so that's all I was saying, which y'all would probably agree with.
Yeah.
And so because I opened that conversation,
I agree.
People are like, you can't judge him, and he does it in his music, and I'm like, no, you have to really dig, and all you're gonna find is opposite.
So
of that.
To Tre9 is NF, is he CHH?
Not at all. No, not at all. He used to be. And that was my problem too, is like, you're saying you're not. He come to town and he won't even give Engine Radio an interview. Chris Chicago couldn't even get an interview with him. Just disrespect. I was outside of his concert helping to promote Engine.
Engine has him on rotation.
Engine had an NF hour or like an NF night where they had hours of
on
back
his
to back.
birthday, they play him 24 hours.
Shout out to NF though. We're gonna get you on the podcast to answer these questions.
Good luck.
Nah, but
you're Christian.
Oh yeah.
No, when you posted that, there was actually a rapper that I would consider famous or on top of CHH right now. He actually reposted.
Drop names. Who you talking about?
I forgot. I don't want to drop a name because I'm not 100% sure who it was. I just remember that it was a big artist that I look up to. And they reposted what you said, and their comment was, "I hate CHH."
Yeah.
Oh,
on the exposed video, they showed a clip of.
That's probably who I'm talking about, but I forgot who it was exactly, so I ain't name drop. But that kind of.
I want to say it was Thizzle.
Thizzle had a problem with it.
Thizzle with that?
He had a problem with we
or Derek Minor, one of them. It was kind of them, but
a lot of
that's their opinion though. But that just shows you that there's a big percentage of Christian hip hop that disagrees with that point of view.
Because a lot of these guys are like, we trying to reach the streets, and so we kind of hide Jesus in there. And I'm like, okay, cool. Make some positive songs that are against drugs, some positive songs that are against gangs. Don't mention Jesus. I've had songs like that where I don't mention Jesus. And so it's not about being over. That's been a long age-old argument, how much Jesus is enough. But there's a lot of guys that feel like to reach the streets, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And that's a lie.
Yeah.
If that's the case, how am I reaching the streets?
Yeah.
If you have to do music that relates to them, that's really, in order for you to get more famous, you need to tone Jesus down.
Wow.
In order for you to get more sales in that market, you need to tone the Jesus down or take it out. I mean, look, NF is an example of that. He's done well after separating and distancing himself from Jesus. If his mission was to reach people for Christ, then the music would have to be different, right? Because he is in the environment. He did it. He went secular and toned out the Jesus stuff to do what? Is he reaching the streets? Is he reaching lost people? Well, he could, but if you don't present the good news, you can't.
How can you do it?
How can you do it?
You're failing.
So whether it's Pro or Thizzle or any of them guys, they've always preached Jesus.
Yeah.
And reached the streets.
Yeah. So Von One, he recently made a top 10 Houston Christian hip hops. His top 10.
Hey Vaughn, how come I wasn't on it?
Vaughn, he put you at number 4, right? But he put Toby and Wigway at number 1. How do you feel about that? Is Toby CHH?
Should you have been number 3 or number 9?
Was that in order? Was that listed?
He put Toby. He put Toby as the number 1 for Houston CHH.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Is it
I believe Toby is Christian. I believe his music doesn't contradict the word of God. And because of that,
try Jesus.
Because of that, he can, to me, he can run with us. But if I'm gonna give somebody Christian hip hop credibility, they have to own it.
They have to claim CHH.
They have to claim it. And so I would say if you're Vaughn,
I mean, that's his list. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. If you're me, I'm gonna say, well, are you claiming it first of all?
Yeah.
And if you're not claiming it, then I'm not gonna put you in our genre.
Yeah. Right. And to be honest,
doesn't claim
to be honest, when we were doing our top 10 for Let's Chop It Up, that's one of the reasons we didn't put Justified on there, because we kind of felt like he wasn't claiming the title as much as he used to.
Yeah, he used to. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. So you don't consider Toby CHH?
No, I consider him a Christian doing good music that doesn't contradict the word. But until he runs with us, until he hits the streets with us, until he does shows with us, until he puts one of us on, until and not me, by the way, I'm not.
You're not saying us, DTS.
I mean us, Christian hip hop.
Yeah.
Until he comes on the podcast,
which is another thing. I was going to mention to y'all. We can circle back, but y'all, Look, who was it? Lewis was on the show.
Lewis,
He
yeah.
was saying,
How did you feel about that interview?
I was like, he was saying Christian hip hop hates him.
Yeah.
Who?
Let's chop it up.